This is an introduction to two-point perspective using a street corner as practice. You're going to take your ruler and create a horizon line. I'm marking the two sides of my box in an even way, adding my vanishing points, which are these 2 points, and then putting a line between them. My first step is to create my straight vertical line, which is the corner of my first corner building. From that vertical line, I take my pencil and line up my ruler to the vanishing point on either side, and I draw in 2 straight lines. I'm going to do this from the top of that line and from the bottom. Any line that you do that's somewhat along the horizon line has to go back to one of these 2 vanishing points. Next, I'm going to take my ruler, align it with that first corner, and slide it out to create a parallel line. This is going to create the edges of my building. So I'm starting with that front corner and going off to the sides. I'm going to erase out those lines that go to the vanishing point just so I can see my building a little bit more clearly. Right away, I'm going to jump into my next building. It's going to come up against the edge of the building I just put in, but it's going to be shorter than this one this time. So I'm taking that first line as my corner of the building. I take the top of the line and it goes off to the left vanishing point. I would take it off to the right vanishing point, but because this building tucks behind the building I've just drawn, I don't need to include it. I'm going to slide my ruler parallel outwards to the left to create the edge of my building. Now, because this one is below the horizon line, I need to draw the roof line. Okay, so this very easily, you take up the top point of your left line and it goes out to the right vanishing point. I'm just shading it in here so you can see it. I'm going to do a third building on the right hand side this time, and this time, starting with my corner, going up vertically, I'm going to extend it up beyond that first building I drew. Taking the top of that building, I go off to my vanishing points on either side. Sliding my ruler out parallel to that, I create the edge of my building. I'm going to do this on both sides. Here it's a little bit narrower, so you can see I'm just defining the edge of my building so I can see it clearly, and I can erase out those lines that go to the vanishing point if I want to. I'm going to show you one building here. This is where the corner is not matched up to the building next to it. Okay, so it's slightly offset. That means there's some space between it. So again, I take the top of my corner, go off to my left vanishing point and to my right vanishing point. Now I'm going to show you how you're going to create an alley. So before I do this, the side of my building is right there. The other side of my building is going to go off to the left, but there's this gap between the 2 buildings. So I'm going to take the bottom of my line and it goes back to my vanishing point. I'm just following my ruler. And here I'm shading it in to show you I've created a bit of an alley because it's a stepped away building from the one that's next to it. The way that I do windows or doors is I start at my vanishing point and I just rotate my ruler out at different increments. So I'm creating these light guidelines. You'll see in a second when I pull my ruler away, but I'm doing this all the way up one side of my building to create a guide. So here I've created a bit of a grid. So I can then take my ruler and go parallel and just choose which of those lines I'm going to use to create windows on my building. Using a ruler at this point will be really effective. It will look a lot better than just freehand drawing it, and your perspective will be perfect. To create letters on a building, let's say for signage or the name of a brand, I'm going to do the same thing. I create a top line and a bottom line for where my lines are going to go, going off to the vanishing point on the side of the building. And then I'm going to use my ruler to create sections for each letter. And then my letters will go into each of those boxes so they're nicely evenly spaced. So here I'm drawing KFC. So in the F, I'm going to draw that vertical line, and that center line of the F is actually going to continue to go back to that vanishing point. Now I'm going to show you how to do a sidewalk. I'm just making a point below my corner, and then I'm taking this point back to either of my vanishing points on either side. To create lines in your sidewalk, you need to again use the vanishing points. So I'm going back to my vanishing point on the opposite side, and I am marking incremental lines all the way back. The closer they get to that right vanishing point, the closer together your lines should be. Once you've tried all of these steps, you've got a really strong base to be able to customize and continue to add interesting details to your street corner.